I'm making my own game. There's just one problem. I have zero prior computer knowledge and only as much experience as one Minecraft mod pack with some custom made structures and loot pools. And because of that, my first experiment looks like this. Since then, I put 100 days into learning game design and experimenting with Unreal Engine 5. In this video, we'll follow my journey into game development, and at the end, we'll recreate this level to see what we've learned. As you already saw, I spent all of day one familiarizing myself with the various tools, features, and assets available to me to decorate the starting room, as I was already itching to work on some playable levels. The next 3 days, I continued to adjust to working in Unreal, experimented with breakable objects and collision, and began to sort through over a decade's worth of notes and drafts to refine the core world-building principles that would impact whatever projects we create down the line. On day 5, I set out to make the first playable state of gameplay by implementing a health system, health bar UI, and some source of damage. I ended up settling on lava for simplicity, but I didn't yet know how to make it deal continuous damage, so for now it only hurts you each time you first land on it. Fixing that, I moved on through day 6, experimenting with creating terrain. And while it's serviceable, I always butcher the landscape into these weird, uncanny hills. I add a stamina bar that's slightly broken at the time, and a mana bar before making a little mock setting of a town in the shadows of a tower. I mess around with the lighting here for a while before deciding to move on. Experimenting with a more grid-like tool, I end up creating a strange Minecraft fever dream, although it ends up getting repurposed later to experiment with carving out architecture. Now, this is when I really felt like I needed to lock in. It had been over a week and I just didn't feel like I was learning fast enough whatsoever. However, I just learned how to edit and record videos properly on my computer and could now gather most of the footage seen throughout this video. My plan starting out was to have multiple project files, where I would develop and remake assets and mechanics to familiarize myself with the engine without having to worry about messing anything up. While some projects mixed mechanics with experimental set pieces, P3 was my bare-bones asset factory, where I would design each mechanic and for the first time, and test them in a purely mechanics-focused level with a win and loss state. I would call this file grayboxing. To butcher the definition a little bit, grayboxing is basically creating simple, very rough drafts of levels, without any of the defining details and decorations that make them nice and pretty. I would create as many mechanics and assets as I could and experiment with them in tiny playable bits for myself with this. To make the levels winnable, I implemented locked doors that would move you to the next level when opened. I started, however, with moving platforms, crushing or harmful objects, bouncy slime pads, and coins to give myself an initial objective while playing. I made the coins glow to stand out and later would implement sound effects to these and other objects created by W187, the lead for sound and music in our team. While I was doing all this, he was learning C++ and practicing with creating custom tracks and sounds. Throughout this journey, I was also learning how to record and edit the footage on my computer and would create my initial pre-dev videos on my original channel. For the next 2 weeks, I jump around creating horror scenes, building up my blocky mountain village before turning it into a desert, and making decorations and mini set pieces. Realizing it's been too long since I've actually coded anything, I moved to implement various pickups, starting with HP up and stamina up before making locked variants that cost money and adding pseudo shops to my little scenes. I then returned to P3 to finally create my first real level. Modifying the code used for lava, I create poison pools that afflict you even after exiting and rejuvenating healing ponds, before designing sealed mana gates that drain your MP to open them. Expanding the town and adding various decorations, I slowly bring the level to a semi-finished state, changing the lighting for atmosphere and trying one last time to implement enemy AI, models, or animation, but failing at all three. I was happy with this level and how I could finally play something I had made, but I had kept hitting new walls and failing to overcome them before the arbitrary deadline I was giving myself. Before I knew it, 72 days had passed, and even though I knew that time was divided between work, compiling notes, drafting, and personal responsibilities, it felt like I was failing. So I stepped away. I knew I'd return, but I put off development for now, or at least I would have, until I was fired. Without a job overnight, I suddenly had a lot more time to think and work. Noting that my original channel had been growing in views on both my pre-dev videos and my other content while I was distracted by work, I decided to set out and revive my old channel, to try and reach over 1K so I could find an audience for my own eventual projects and to potentially raise funding that could go towards development. But now that I had much more experience with my PC, Unreal Engine, and with editing, I decided to split my channel, creating the development team channel here, posting my initial videos, and finally returning to Unreal Engine to continue this learning journey. With a new idea in mind, I returned to Unreal Engine to create a very basic set piece of an idea I had for a level. Knowing we'll one day have to create our own art and assets for the game, I stick with only using the starter content the game provides as stand-ins and representations for the different ideas and features we can implement later. Even still, however, the stacks are no longer just a concept on paper. They're now a 3D playable space where people can get the idea of what we're going for. Which leads us to now, and my promise to redesign our day one set piece with everything I've learned. So the idea on day one was making a small temple-like area using my incredibly limited knowledge, which led to the infamous ball pillars that would become a running gag throughout development. We're going to attempt to recapture the atmosphere of a ball pillar temple. We start out by adding the defining temple monument in the center to catch the player's eye and inspire them to explore. By adding these 2 mana gates, I ensure the player can't reach the temple door without running out, forcing them to find a power-up to get it back. Nearby is a locked gate with a visible MP up. The goal will be to make the player find 3 golden balls to open the door and purchase the mana with coins throughout the level. With a healing pond at the start of the level for players to return to if they're in dire shape, I placed the first key in a poison swamp nearby. I put an optional branching path here for the inquisitive player behind another mana gate, and an entrance leading to a room with the next 2 keys, filled with various crushers and a bounce pad used to get up into high places. Already there's a huge playable difference between the 2 rooms and a locked door that we started with, and this sprawling temple that's now growing out before us. Something unexpected happened, however. As soon as I posted to this channel, both of the videos ended up blowing up a lot more than they normally do. The unexpected level of positive feedback and support served as a new fire to motivate me. As someone who's computer illiterate and has no modeling experience, the technical side of things has never been my strong suit, so I lean more towards the environmental design aspect naturally. Even with the limited features I've mastered and the few assets I've made, challenging myself to use this restricted toolkit to create areas just appeals to the designer part of my brain and excites me for the possibilities down the line. Area concepts, creature designs, lore, these are all the things I excel at as a writer, and I work better as the creative spark than I do the fire. But until W's learned C++ to share the workload, I'll have to push as far into this ocean of ideas as possible on my own. For those interested in seeing my evolution from zero PC experience to a true game designer and following this project as it grows, feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Or if you're interested in the SFX and music aspect of design, subscribe to my team member W187, linked below. If you're interested in my other content or supporting my journey to reach monetization so I can take on game development full time, feel free to check out my original channel, Silcrow Prima, also linked below. And before I end this video, I want to thank Blargus, the creator of the indie hit Blood Thief. If it weren't for his devlog videos, I would have never been inspired to finally try my own hand at making games. If you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend you try it, and I'll end this video by showing you some footage of it because it is something truly special.